We talk about smart lights, and we do this a lot on the show. Paul, what's your go-to smart light?
Well, we've been using Philips Hue. The truth is, I feel like Philips Hue is going to be displaced because they're expensive. Even on sale, these things are expensive.
They're very
And so I
expensive.
think, yeah, yeah,
So I use so the smart lights that I've used are the Lifex lights. And the reason why I got it is because it was the brightest light at the time, and the Philips Hues had not been updated for a number of years. So I like the RGB lights. I like to be able to kind of set the different lights and use it in the studio for different things. So I kind of got stuck in the Lifex platform for a while.
mhm,
My wife bought me the Philips Hues. Uh, now you have it. It comes with the hub, right? Yours has the hub.
yeah.
Okay. So I set it up and I was not very impressed. And I'll tell you why. It had to do with the price point for these lights. They're not cheap at all. Especially when you go with the color lights, right? You're paying about $40 to $50. Those Lifex lights are around $48, $49. So I started looking for alternatives that are at the same level. And I was tipped off to a company called YeeLight. And I think Xiaomi, right, Paul?
Xiaomi, yeah.
Xiaomi, yeah. Xiaomi owns them. It's a property of them. So these are the lights, and they're about 20 something dollars. I've seen them anywhere from $18 to $28 depending.
For a light?
For a light.
Yes, that's still really expensive.
It's
That's
it's
crazy.
so cheap. Yeah, but you know what though? It's half the price of what
Yeah, I know.
Lifex is
I can't
charging.
believe how expensive stuff is.
Especially if you want the RGB lights, right? You want the color lights.
Yeah, of
So
course. Yeah.
I did a number of comparisons here. So I compared it with the Philips Hues that I have here. I compared it to the Lifex lights, and I have to tell
Mhm.
you, these are probably my favorite lights. I like the Wi-Fi lights. I don't like the hub, just because it works when I'm not here and I'm able to kind of do all that stuff. I like the fact that I have the Wi-Fi lights because they're also a little bit cheaper. These are Wi-Fi based, and you kind of create the scenes and do all that stuff. But the cool thing here, and I'll show you, I've actually used it in one of my shots here. So let's cut to this. So that's a new shot that we're going to be using for a show. So let me see
Mhm.
if I could change the lights here and you guys could see. So I like it because it's really bright. It's about 800 lumens. The Lifex is a little bit brighter. It's 1,000 lumens, so you get a little bit more color. But honestly, it's not that noticeable. So you could have scenes. You could have this. It's
Yeah.
everything you could do with the Philips Hues essentially. This gives you a ton of options. Obviously, they're not an advertiser. I'm not endorsing them in any capacity like that. I gotta change the color of the lights here. Sorry. Let's go to one of them. So you could change the color to, I just changed that one. And it just, you go based on a spectrum and then you could just pick the color,
Sure.
which are, it's absolutely great. And the fact that it's about 30% cheaper than the
Yeah,
other
yeah. No, it's
lights.
a big deal. You should
Um,
leave that on Patriots colors, by the way.
yeah, leave it
Um,
on Patriots colors, leave the blue and the white.
yeah.
I was stunned how good they were compared to about 2-3 years ago when I tried a brand that I wasn't familiar with that were like $30 lights, and they were absolutely terrible.
Right.
And you could still get and by the way, those terrible lights, I got to see the name. It was like Smart Way or something. Just a
Sure.
third party Chinese company that put a couple LEDs in this thing and was selling it. These are actually impressive how good they are
Yeah.
for the price.
No, I
Uh,
listen, there are lots of choices there now. Philips Hue was kind of one of the early companies, and they're a big company. They support everything. So, this stuff's going to work with Google and Amazon and Apple. That's a big deal. One of the problems when you go down a path like this is if like with me, like we have several, I don't know the exact number, 4, 8, 10, something like 12-ish, 10 or 12 Philips Hue lights in the house. Now these things come along or some other brand, and you're like, well, I'm going to buy these other things because they're exactly the same and they're less expensive. But now I have like a system, right? It's more convenient for me to be able to use the thing I already have. So it kind of behooves you to buy more of them. And or you have to use some kind of a hub, which could be, what do you call it? Apple HomeKit or I'm losing my mind. SmartThings, I think, does
Yeah.
this. I'm forgetting some of the other ones. But basically a front end that can control all the different systems together, right? So you can do like scenes across your house or whatever it might be. It just adds complexity. That's all. I mean, there's no, if I was starting today, I probably wouldn't go with Philips Hue.
What would you go with? Just a cheaper brand?
I don't know. I would go with something cheaper. I mean, one of the things, well, Philips Hue, because it's more mature and because there's more of it, they have specialty lights and things that they're doing that some of the other guys don't have. Like we use a couple of Philips Hue blooms, which are these, they kind of point up they're like a little spotlight. And
Yeah.
they sit in the corner of a room and they kind of light up the corners of the room, and they're just on all the time and they look great. We have like a Philips Hue light strip behind the TV as well. Uh, that I don't know. It's a convenience thing. They're
Yeah, I
definitely
mean,
not the best option price wise.
yeah.
No
And
doubt about it.
Lifex is doing the same, and these guys are doing the same too. But I find it
Yeah.
interesting how the pricing has dropped. And the fact that we're still looking at a $20 light bulb or $30 light bulb, and we're saying, wow, that's not a bad price. you know?
Right. Right.
That's part of it. But I absolutely love these things. And obviously, I use it in my studio, so it would make sense for me. Most people don't really need to have purple and pink lighting in their bedroom. And it maybe you want it in your bedroom, but in your living room and in your
Well,
kitchen,
need is a
need.
strong word, but
Some people do. They got to set the mood right, Paul. They're big
well,
on
no.
lighting.
The New York Times just wrote an article about when it comes to the smart home stuff that I think it was the New York Times. So somebody wrote an article about this, and they're right that uh, smart lights are kind of the low hanging fruit for smart home stuff. It's the one thing that most people would enjoy and get value out of. And you can kind of cherry pick it. We found like we don't. There's no reason to put a smart light in every single socket, right? That would just be a waste of money. But in the areas where we do use it out in the sunroom with those bloom lights, for example, the light behind the TV, both of which are always on. We have a couple of other living room lights. My daughter's got these lights, and she uses them to kind of wake up, like they turn on over time. We have some lights outside over the garage. It's just it's not a need. There's absolutely no need to it, but we enjoy it. Like we actually do. It's like a technology that we've bought, we use, and we keep using it, and that's actually kind of cool because you know how it is. Like a lot of times, you buy stuff and then it drops off the face of the earth.
So if you want to check these out, I'll have a link in our show notes, obviously, and of course you could just search YeeLights, and I'll also link to the specific one that I have.